Midnight at Ravenwood Cemetery. Chapter 1, The Dare. The town of Ravenshade had many legends, but none more terrifying than the one surrounding Ravenwood Cemetery. It was said that at midnight, the spirits of the dead would rise, some seeking revenge, others searching for the living to take their place. The older folks in town warned their children, never step into Ravenwood after dark. But teenagers? They never listened. On Halloween night, 4 friends, Daniel, Emily, Jake, and Lisa, stood outside the iron gates of Ravenwood Cemetery. A thick fog crawled across the ground, the moon casting eerie shadows over the gravestones. "You all know the dare," Jake smirked, holding up his phone. "We each have to go in alone, walk to the big crypt in the center, and take a selfie. No chickening out." Lisa crossed her arms. "This is stupid. It's just an old cemetery. Nothing's gonna happen." "Then go first," Daniel challenged. Lisa hesitated but rolled her eyes. "Fine." She pushed open the rusted gate, and with a loud creak, she disappeared into the darkness. One by one, they followed. But none of them knew they had just stepped into something far more dangerous than a legend. Chapter 2, Whispers in the Fog. The moment Lisa walked past the first row of graves, the air changed. It was colder inside the cemetery, not the kind of cold you feel on a chilly night, but a deep, unnatural cold. She pulled out her phone and aimed the flashlight around. Old, cracked tombstones, overgrown vines, a strange silence. Then, a whisper. She spun around. "Guys?" No answer. The whisper came again, soft and slithering, like a breath against her ear. "Leave while you can." Lisa's heart pounded. "Jake, Daniel, if this is a joke, I swear." Something moved behind her, a shadow, not her own. Her breath hitched, and she sprinted forward toward the crypt. Chapter 3, The Crypt's Secret. Meanwhile, Daniel made his way through the fog. He could barely see ahead, but he knew where the crypt was, the center of the legend. As he walked, his foot hit something hard, a gravestone. Brushing off the dirt, he read the name. Eleanor Blackwood, 1793 to 1812. Daniel frowned. She was only 19. Then, below her name, an inscription. "Death is not the end, but the beginning of darkness." A chill ran down his spine. Suddenly, a hand grabbed his ankle. Daniel screamed, kicking away from the grasp, but when he looked down, nothing was there. Heart racing, he ran. Chapter 4, The Unseen Eyes. Jake and Emily walked together, their flashlights barely cutting through the mist. "Where's Lisa?" Emily asked. Jake shrugged. "She's probably trying to scare us." But Emily wasn't so sure. "It's too quiet." Then, something whispered their names. Emily's breath caught in her throat. "Did you hear that?" Jake nodded, his bravado fading. "Yeah, and I think we're being watched." A cold gust of wind pushed past them, and suddenly, the graves shifted. Emily gasped. "Jake, the tombstones, they moved." Jake turned, and his eyes widened. She was right. Something was changing in the cemetery. And then, they saw it. A figure, tall, thin, and shrouded in black, standing among the graves. Watching them. Chapter 5, The Awakening. Lisa reached the crypt first. Panting, she leaned against the stone door, trying to catch her breath. She turned to take her selfie, proof she completed the dare. But as she raised her phone, she saw something in the reflection. Behind her, a woman in a black dress, her face pale and hollow, her eyes nothing but darkness. Lisa screamed. The woman reached out, her fingers inches from Lisa's shoulder, and the crypt door swung open on its own. A rush of freezing air exploded from within, carrying a chorus of whispers. "You have awakened us." The ground shook, and all across the cemetery, the dead began to rise. Chapter 6, Trapped with the Dead. Daniel, Jake, and Emily heard Lisa's scream and ran toward the crypt. But when they arrived, she was gone. "Lisa!" Emily cried. Then a hand burst from the ground. Jake grabbed Emily's wrist. "Run!" But there was nowhere to run. All around them, figures were rising from the graves. Skeletons, half-decayed corpses, spirits with hollow eyes, their mouths twisted into horrible grins. "Stay with us," they whispered. "Join us in the dark." The crypt door creaked wider, revealing a staircase leading down into complete darkness. A terrible realization hit Daniel. "This isn't just a legend," he whispered. "This place is cursed." Emily was shaking. What do we do? Jake clenched his fists. We find Lisa, and we get the hell out of here. With no other choice, they stepped inside the crypt. The door slammed shut behind them. Chapter 7, The Truth Beneath. The air inside the crypt was stifling, thick with dust and decay. Their flashlights flickered as they moved down the stone steps. And then, they saw her. Lisa stood motionless, facing the far wall. Lisa! Emily ran to her, then froze. Lisa's eyes were black. You shouldn't have come here, Lisa whispered, but it wasn't her voice, it was many voices, speaking as one. The walls trembled, the crypt was alive. Daniel's voice was barely a whisper. We have to leave, now! But Lisa turned to them, her face twisted into something not human. You can't leave, she said, not after what you've seen. Then, the spirits attacked. Chapter 8, Escape or Death? The crypt erupted with shrieks, the walls cracked, and shadowy figures poured out, reaching for them. Lisa lunged at Emily, but Jake grabbed her. That's not Lisa anymore. Daniel spotted something, an altar at the end of the crypt. On it lay an old tome, its pages fluttering, a ritual book. He didn't have time to think, he grabbed it, flipping through the pages until he found something. To break the curse, one must return what was taken. Daniel's mind raced. Something was stolen from this place, something that should never have left. Then, he saw it. A small silver locket around Lisa's neck. It didn't belong to her. Daniel grabbed it and threw it onto the altar. The crypt roared, the spirits screamed, and in an instant, everything vanished. Lisa collapsed, gasping for breath. The spirits were gone, the crypt, silent. They ran. The moment they stepped outside, the cemetery was still again. The graves, the shadows, the spirits all gone. Epilogue moral. The next day, the town awoke to the news. The old cemetery was sealed off permanently. No one questioned why. The town had its legends now. The teenagers had their own. But they never spoke of what happened that night. And they never went back. Moral: some places hold secrets better left undisturbed. Curiosity can awaken things best left buried.